Hello! After we have created our skeleton, the next step in the rigging process is to skin our character. So in order to skin our character, we will select our center of gravity joint, and then we also select our mesh. We'll go to Skin, Bind Skin Options, and I'm just going to reset my settings really fast. So default settings are fine. The one setting that I tend to change is this max influences. Now, if I have a model that is very high poly with a lot of different joints, a very kind of complex rig, I'll leave this at a higher number because I would like to let more than one joint, like around 5 joints, affect one vertex at a time. But you'll notice that this mesh is pretty low poly, and we also have a pretty simple skeleton that we're working with. So in order to make my life easier, I'm going to lower this number to probably like 2. And this will really just make my life easier in terms of skinning because there's not really any area of my mesh where more than one joint will be affecting it. Or more than 2 joints, maybe 2 or 3. I might leave it at 3. 3 joints will be affecting my mesh. So I'm just going to, that's the one setting I tend to change. With that, I will click Bind Skin. And we know that our skeleton has been bound because it turns this rainbow color. And now we can go into the Paint Skin Weights tool, which we can access under the skinning menu, Paint Skin Weights, or we can right click on our mesh and go to Paint Skin Weights tool here. So by default, the tool is in black and gray. I'm a big proponent of the color ramp because I can tell the difference between blue and green much better than I can between gray and a different gray. So what are we seeing here? We are seeing the amount of influence that a certain joint has over a certain vertex on our mesh. Skin weights are on a per vertex basis. They go from 0 influence to 1 influence and anywhere in between. Hope I don't die recording this video. You can see here that 0 influence is black, 100% influence or 1 total influence is white, and like 99% is red, point in anywhere kind of in between. So this is what that color gradient is telling us. So our center of gravity joint has strong influence in the middle of the body, and it kind of tapers off going up and then down the legs. So the first way that I typically tackle skinning is to block out my weights. And so what I mean by that is I'm going to start with actually my foot, and I'm going to work my way up. So I'm going to change my painting mode to add at a value of 1. And I'm going to paint 100% weight kind of all around in this area. So I know that my foot joint is controlling 100% of this area. So I'm going to paint it all out. Okay, great. Now we go up to the ankle. So the ankle joint controls anywhere from the ankle down. So we get in here, paint our ankle so that wherever our ankle joint is influencing, it is controlling 100% of that. So I call this process blocking out your weights. Keep in mind that the skin weights are on the vertices and not on the edges, so you can't click in the middle of an edge and expect anything to happen. You have to paintbrush over the vertices. Okay, going up to the knee. So the knee controls from the knee down. So I'll get the knee going all the way down to the foot. It's okay to mess up. You can just undo. Just be careful with your brush. Sometimes it's nice to make your brush a little smaller. So I'm really gonna get those vertices. Oh, get that one too. There we go. Okay, from the knee down, looks like we're good. Let's go up to the hip. So the hip is going to control from the hip down. Alrighty. Let's get up here. Okay, and I'm also going to let the hip control a little bit of the jacket, so like the bottom hem of the jacket. So if the leg moves, the jacket will move kind of with it. So really get in there, get all the cracks and crannies. All right, I'll get that guy as well. All right, the hula joint shouldn't have any influence over anything, so we are going to skip it and go into the center of gravity, which will control this area of the mesh. Pretty much up until where the spine starts. Notice I'm only painting half the mesh. This is important. Moving up from the center of gravity is the spine, so I'm going to block this weight out. Going up to the chest area. Okay, then is the chest. So we'll really get in there, get underneath the arm. Again, this whole little backpack thing. All the way up to the neck. All right, then is the shoulder. So we're going to really get in here and get these shoulder areas. Right, and the elbow. And then lastly, the wrist joint, which is basically just the whole hand. So we can get in here and being careful when I get close to the wrist. But otherwise I can kind of go crazy on the hand here. Okay. Continuing up the body, we have the neck, which is controlling the neck area. I'm going to say that that is also the neck, and then we can kind of figure it out, see if that looks nice. All right, and then the head. So get that whole head in there. Okay, and then let's just double check what's going on here. Looks like the chest joint needs to get a little more action in this area. All right, so with all that painting done, we can go in and mirror our skinning over to the other side. So with our skin, mirror skin weights options, and going to mirror across again the YZ. I painted on this side, which is the positive X side. So yes, I want it to be positive to negative. If you paint on the other side, just uncheck that box and it will mirror from negative to positive. The surface association and influence associations is if your model is perfectly symmetrical, you can just mirror 1 to 1, but mine is not. So I'm going to mirror to the closest joint. So I'll click mirror. And then I just like to go in here and see that things worked all right. We can check the legs. So it looks like the legs are okay. But the more important part would be looking up the chest in this area. So I'm going to come in here and say this is okay. All right, let's check the shoulders, this shoulder. All right, get the elbow and the wrist. So I'm just going to make sure that's done properly. And then also checking the neck. Going to want to include that vertex and the head. So, okay. That looks all right. One thing we can do is actually rotate our joints to get a sense of how the body is moving. So this looks a little weird, but that makes sense because we just have that blocked out weight area. So let's see. That looks all right. A little stiff maybe. This looks okay. See the spine here. That looks okay. This could be better. Not bad. And the head. Okay. We'll check the arms. So that looks a little weird. But overall, not so bad. Not so bad for just blocking out weights. So the main area that I would want to refine at this point is the this area. So I'm going to go into my Paint Skin Weights tool, and I'm going to start with my hip joint here. So this area didn't look so good. So what I want to do is, I know I'm going to start with just setting it to 50-50 between the center of gravity and the hip. So if I change my mode to replace and then change my value to 0.5, I can get in here and paint in a value of 0.5 all around the hip of my model. Here, I know I want it to be kind of split between the two sides, so I'm going to go just 0.25 over here. Okay. Let's see how this is looking. So that's already a lot better. This is maybe a little weird. So maybe if I go to my center of gravity joint and paint in like a 0.5 here as well. We can try that. So we have a little bit of clipping. So maybe I want more influence from the hip in that area. So you can kind of see how this is a process where we have to, kind of experiment and see what is looking the best. But one important thing to note with the Paint Skin Weights tool is that I'm always adding influence. I'm never taking it away. So this is important. So I notice that I want more influence from the center of gravity. So I'm not going to try and take it away from the hip. I'm going to go to the center of gravity joint and add influence to the center of gravity. So always be adding. All right. So that looks all right. Still got a little clipping here. Okay, so skinning is always kind of a work in progress. It depends on the poses that you're putting your character in and kind of what they're doing, and you can always go back and continue to tweak it as needed. So we're going to stop this video here.